asked Tim what he knew about his mother's oldest uncle, not the one living, but the oldest uncle she ever had. And he said, was his name Joseph? And I said, no. I said, well, Uncle Joseph, though, he was eating a steak in his house that Aunt Reddy had cooked for him, and some of his grandkids were over there, and they observed it, and he was cutting his steak with his knife and cut his plate in two. But your mother's oldest uncle was named Milo, and he was had quite a wit. He was a little sarcastic about his wit. So when my cousin Ruth Andrus, Uncle Joseph's daughter, got married in those days, they always had a dance at the reception. So they had a dance, and I guess they did get married in the temple. I don't think Elmer Bowie was a member of the church, was he?
I don't know.
I don't think they got. I don't know. They might have got married in the church, in the temple. I don't know. But anyway, the reception was in the Marion church. You had a dance always. So Uncle Milo lived in Holiday, but he'd come out for the big doings. He'd come out for the reception. He was sitting in the Marion church, which served as a cultural hall as well. They put the chairs around the wall and having a dance. Uncle Milo was sitting there. He was older than most people are when they dance. I don't know how old he was, but he was good old age. And one of the Weller girls was there. The Weller kids used to come to all the occasions, even though they hadn't been invited. They would come and they'd say, Mother and Dad said that it was okay if we came and brought the presents. So they were there. And Marion was one of the middle-aged girls. And this was in the summer, nice warm weather. And she was about, I'd say she was 16 or 17 years old. So when the dance music ended, why, she came and looking for a place to sit down and the only place was by Uncle Milo. So Uncle Milo said to her, he'd lived out there, see, and he wanted to get acquainted with everybody that had lived there, wondered what family she belonged to, and he said, where do you live? And she said, in a house. And he said, oh. He said, and Marion had a little pinafore. They called them in those days pinafore. Now I guess you'd call it a tank top on. And he said, oh, well, I thought people that dressed like you're dressed lived in a teepee. Oh, you didn't know Uncle Milo, you would have known he could have said that.
Sean, should I have
So
this
is that
can?
Milo the third?
Have this can?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Ooh.
Like Ken said, in those days, anytime you had a wedding, you had a dance. And then it started to change where they didn't have a dance, you just went through a reception line. And my mother said about the first wedding that she went to where they just had a reception line. They went in, instead of having a dance, they just went through the line and went and ate a piece of cake and then went home. And she was leaving the reception same time as someone else, and they were going out together, and the other lady said, huh, that wasn't even worth taking a bath for.
who Uncle Mel Taylor was? Ever heard of him?
Mel Taylor? Nope.
Uncle Melvin Taylor. Well, he lived in the house west of us, just across from the cemetery. And he had kids, and he was kind of an adopted uncle. Doug or Louise would have to tell what the relationship between us. He was related, but not as a direct uncle. So one of his kids had a wedding reception in the same building. And so they had the reception line out in the hallway, and then you went inside the cultural hall for the dance.
Which kid?
I don't know if it was Carol or Dick. Either Carol or Dick.
Go out this way.
So they made Uncle Melvin dress up in white dinner jacket.
Because he was his dad.
He was the dad, and they had to be, this was the style now, so he had to dress up in a white dinner jacket, and here come Uncle Willard through the line. Of course, Uncle Willard had a wit like Uncle Milo about. They were very similar in their wit. So Uncle Mel Taylor was there in his white dinner jacket, feeling very conspicuous, and so Uncle Willard came through the line, and he says, "Whoa!" He says, "Are you a baker or a cook?" and knowing Uncle Mel Taylor, that made him even more conspicuous and embarrassed. That was hard on him.
Chair for you.
He knew in the Army from Woodland. Now, I don't know if Pa knew him before he got in the Army, because I don't know if Pa had ever been to Woodland before he went in the Army. I don't know why he would ever been in Woodland. He must have just got acquainted in the Army.
You guys want some smoothie?
When we lived in Marion, Barney Gines and his family lived in Woodland.
Don't give them any unless their mother says.
So he had a big family, bigger than we did. More kids than we did. So they came over to our place for Thanksgiving dinner one time.
Do you want some?
You don't remember Party Gines and his family coming over for dinner? I remember. Nice family. I remember there was no snow on the ground. We played outside before dinner. So another Thanksgiving I remember.
Anyone ready for more?
We invited Uncle Joseph's family up for dinner. And Mom had made several pumpkin pies. And she put them out on the back porch to cool. And Uncle Joseph's dog, Hoyman, would come up to our place a lot, and he was not supposed to, but he did. He'd come up there, and the screen door had a hole in it.
Get it finished.
It was loose on one corner, and Hoyman would come in. And Mom put her pies out there to cool, and Hoyman came in and took one or two bites out of most every one of them. It was about a half a dozen pies. He took a bite out of the center of every one of them. Of course, I was little, really about 4 or 5 years old. And so when Uncle Joseph and Aunt Reddy came for dinner, why I had to announce that what Hoyman had done. Poor Aunt Reddy, just as a little kid, I can still remember how embarrassed she was.
Why was it your job to tell him?
Because I was a little kid.
And he thought it was
They
his job.
give you
It'd
that
be
assignment,
cheaper.
or you just
Oh, I just knew my role.
Oh.
Every kid that age knows their role.
Oh, okay, so you weren't assigned. You took it upon yourself.
No. Oh, my
announce.
family wouldn't have told her for nothing. They were
God.
they were so embarrassed that I would say anything that ready. No.
Here come Joseph and Christmas.